We started to work with prisoners of war and civilian detainees due to my personal experience. I'm a veteran, I'm a former combatant, Ukrainian officer of the Ukrainian Defense Forces, and I'm a former prisoner of war. I spent 2 years and 4 months in Russian captivity, and when I was released, while still on rehabilitation course, we came across colleagues from Civilian Military Partnership, from the General Headquarters of the Armed Forces, the group of reintegration of the released POWs and civilian detainees. And this is when we started to learn about the needs of those released. And this is when we had our first thought that we need to invest in this work. And the majority of those people with whom I was in captivity, they are still there. They are still in Russian captivity. And I felt it being my sort of obligation, duty. If they cannot talk about themselves, then I should talk about them. We're definitely talking about thousands of people. The estimates varied between 7,000 and maybe 15,000 if we talk about military captives, about prisoners of war. When it comes to those who were already released, there are official numbers. Currently it's more than 8,000 and a half. People come back from Russian captivity in different states, and their personal circumstances also are different. Some come back to their families, to their homes, to their military units, but some, especially those from occupied areas, they've lost everything. When it comes to civilian detainees, quite often after initial period of reintegration, they basically have nothing. They don't have anywhere to go to, they don't have a house, they don't have a job. They basically, some of them have to start everything from scratch. Civilians have to prove that they were in detention due to their pro-Ukrainian stance or because they sympathize with Ukraine. It's quite often difficult to prove that you've been arrested or detained for being pro-Ukrainian. Occupiers do not issue any confirmation papers or anything on this matter. For people who are just released, the schedule is very tight. I would say that the psychological stance and psychological situation of those who are released needs more attention, but especially it becomes vital not in the initial few weeks, but later on, because some consequences of captivity, they come up later, not in the initial weeks, but within several months, could be even half a year or more, when people still have reactions to their former experience, and this is where the system falls short. When I was released from captivity and was on reintegration period, we came across this reintegration team, and they already have quite a lot of experience in dealing with former captives, former prisoners of war, but they needed to scale it up because there are many more audiences who get in touch with former detainees. Would they be medical professionals or media professionals? Of course, relatives and friends and families and loved ones. And this was actually a moment where the idea of our first project came about, to help them, in cooperation with them, to scale up their experience. Currently, there is a lack of resources for that, so we are very grateful for support we received. We managed to involve experts for different audiences on different aspects of situation and life of those who are released from captivity, and prepare materials for different audiences, what to expect, how to react, how not to re-traumatize people, how to help them reintegrate. There is probably not a single country in the world, or at least in Europe, after the World War II, which would face the need to set up a system of rehabilitation and reintegration of thousands and thousands of people. This is an enormous task. We understand that currently there is a lack of resources for that, but it is vital that we do that because we owe these people a debt of gratitude. We have to help them to reintegrate into their communities, to sometimes to start their life anew. And also it is vital for communities themselves, because people with trauma, people with different traumatizing experiences, without assistance, they can just tear the receiving communities apart. So we understand that with very limited resources and this enormous task We could not do it without international solidarity and without external support. This is where international partners and international organizations and foreign organizations who come to help, who come to share resources and to support these activities are vital. Without them, it wouldn't be possible.